A big federal ICE raid in Mississippi netted nearly 700 people suspected of being undocumented immigrants. The ICE agents went after workers at poultry processing plants. And in Georgia, the poultry industry is massive, one of the biggest in the world, employing tens of thousands of immigrants. Could Georgia be next? Here's our John Sherrick.
The question, would or should federal ICE agents take a swing at Georgia's massive global poultry industry, potentially harming its bottom line in the name of immigration enforcement? Case in point, Wednesday in Mississippi, ICE agents armed with federal warrants raided 7 poultry processing plants and arrested nearly 700 workers suspected of being undocumented immigrants. Similar raids in Georgia would be targeting the multi-billion-dollar poultry industry here, one of the world's leading suppliers of poultry products. And Jerry Gonzalez, the executive director of the Georgia Association of Latino Elected Officials, says most of those workers are undocumented immigrants.
It is our #1 industry in this state. Without the immigrant workers, that industry would collapse.
The president and Congress, Gonzalez says, should enact immigration reforms, not just enforce, he says, broken laws. But after the Mississippi raids, the poultry industry in Georgia, relying on undocumented immigrants, so far is silent.
So I think that our agricultural leaders need to step up and really push back on the president in some of these type of operations that are really destructive to families, really destructive to our economy here.
Are poultry industry executives and politicians right on up to Governor Kemp concerned about federal ICE agents raiding the processing plants here? We've asked. So far, no response.
Immigration lawyers say about 5 busloads of people detained in Mississippi were released today, but it's not clear if that's because they were determined to be living here legally. Feds said yesterday that they would release detained people who met certain conditions, like pregnant women and people who hadn't faced immigration proceedings before.